So, yes, I fell asleep on a client as well. And I'm going to tell you how this happened. First, let me start by saying this was earlier in my career and I was still navigating my schedule, but I was also being overworked and undervalued and not given the right resources to even excel as a therapist. So I believe this is when I first moved into my apartment in 2021. And I'm just starting to get used to the idea of living on my own, managing things. So it was a lot of chaos happening. But with the agency I was working at, they were they did not care about their therapists. For like, I think it was all about return. All they cared about was how many clients you saw in a day, how much money were you bringing in, did you fill out the paperwork. As far as clients' progress, that was barely even checked in. So me trying to make a living because I have this new apartment that I have to pay for, I was trying to see clients, but I wasn't measuring how much I gave to each client and how that could affect me by the time 6:30 rolls around. And I'm realizing that I have a limit, right? I know that now I need to see 3 to 4 clients before and then I get a break, right? 3 is my sweet spot, but 4 is pushing it, but I can do it. And then after that, maybe see 3 more clients. That is what I now know, and that I don't like to work past 7. But back then, I was a young therapist trying to just make it in this field. And I wanted to show up for my clients no matter what time it was. I was seeing clients sometimes at 8, 9 in the morning. And anyone who knows me knows that 9 in the morning is just insane for me. But I did it because I was overextending myself. But then I was also exhausted. This was still in the height of the BLM movement. And it was also pretty much in the height of COVID as well. So while all of this is happening, I'm still have to show up for my clients, even though no one was really showing up for me. And I was exhausted. So I had a session with a client. I didn't realize that I ended up on the bed and I ended up falling asleep because back then I didn't really use cameras. And it was maybe for like 3 seconds. And I think she got really quiet. And she was like, I was like, oh, what happened? I didn't even realize I fell asleep. It wasn't until the next session that she told me, like, no, you fell asleep on me. I said, I did. I said, I'm so sorry. That's not my intention. She said, no, I'd rather not continue. And I get it. Like, this is probably her first time in therapy. She didn't want to have to deal with someone who disregarded her in that way. And it wasn't my intention to disregard her. I promise you, I was listening, but my body was giving out. And let's say that happens to me now. I have to recognize you can't push past this and you can't show up for your client when you're not even fully there. So I will gladly cancel the session so that I get the rest that I need and also that the client gets the session that they deserve eventually. That's why I say it's really hard because there's a trickle down effect in understanding how these things happen. I think maybe many of us still see therapists as this blank slate, like we're not like people or we're just the person that they can vent to. And I think maybe back in the day it was like that, but nowadays the world is just too chaotic for it to be that way. Not saying that any client should now take responsibility and over caring for their therapist. No, it's all about just understanding, having an understanding that, yeah, it's been a lot for everybody, right? Now, if a client has a therapist who is consistently falling asleep, they have every right, and I would advise them to move on to another therapist because that's your money and your time being wasted. And there's no way someone could be attuned to your needs if they're asleep constantly during your sessions. Anyway,
I just want the best for you, and I think that you deserve the world.
that's my spiel on this. It's hard out here for therapists. We have really tough jobs, and a lot of helping professionals can even attest to this. Sometimes we have to show up even when we can't even show up for ourselves because that is our job. And yes, we chose this job, but we didn't choose the world to be the way it was. That's something to keep in mind.